internet is that people can have entirely different realities. They can be just cocooned in information that reinforces their current biases.
Some of the politics we see now, we thought we put that to bed. That's folks looking 50 years back.
It's certainly frustrating to have to mobilize every couple of months to keep our leaders from inflicting real human suffering on our constituents.
Well, has a former president ever criticized a current one before? Have they ever done it as much as this? And what kind of impact does this have on our country's standing around the world? Here now to weigh in is Senior Fellow with the Heritage Foundation, James Carafano. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
So have you ever heard a former president do something like this to this extent? Because it does seem like we have President Obama just out there constantly at this point, traveling behind where President Trump goes and, you know, coming out with his opinions on what President Trump has to say.
Well, it's not completely historically unprecedented. We have presidents that have criticized the presidents that came after them before. The difference now is we have this huge megaphone 24-hour news cycle on the internet, so it gets a lot more attention than it used to. I don't think it really moves the bubble. Obama has a lot more to worry about. What he's going to be judged on is his own legacy, and his legacy right now is not looking good. I mean, his economy pales compared to this economy. His foreign policy pales to this foreign policy. Even domestic violence and the domestic situation is calmer than it was during his presidency. So he's got his own issues.
Well, actually, maybe that's a good point. Do you think that that actually is the reason that he's out there so much, because he's worried about his legacy?
Yeah, I guess you'd have to ask Mr. Obama why he's out there doing what he does. In terms of foreign policy, look, this does not move the bubble. Everybody in the world knows who the President of the United States is. I've been all over the world talking to ministers and heads of government and parliamentarians. They know who has power in the United States, and it's not Obama, and that's not the person they pay attention to.
But does it give them talking points? Does it give them fodder to use against the current administration when you have someone like President Obama out there talking about, to business leaders in Paris in terms of climate change, where he says there is a, quote, temporary absence of American leadership? Can they then take that and use that against this administration?
Well, ironically, not really among our friends and allies, who actually, by and large, like Trump's foreign policies better than Obama's. In Europe, he's been tougher on the Russians. In the Middle East, he's been much tougher on ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Iran. He's stiff-armed China. He's got a much more consistent North Korean policy, and most of our allies really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of helping, I mean, this definitely doesn't help in terms of bringing America together and furthering America in the world.
Yeah, well, look, we've never been more divided, and the whole world has never been more puzzled by this. And I'm not sure one more voice, however illegitimate it is, makes much of a difference. But the point is that the policies are working, and Trump is anything but a lame duck president. I mean, the next, traditionally over the next 2 years, presidents still have a lot of power and authority, even if it doesn't look like they're going to get reelected. And in foreign policy and security policy, they can operate pretty independently, even of oversight, the influence of Congress. So people recognize this is a president that they're going to have to deal with for the next 2 years, and nobody is diminishing Trump just because Obama complains about him.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't necessarily need his assistance. That's for sure. He's proven that. But it would certainly help if you had some sort of support, especially from a previous administration. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Hey, have a great New Year.
You too.
All right. Well, turning now to some extreme weather. Bone-chilling temperatures gripping millions of Americans across the Northeast. It is cold. New Hampshire plunging to 34 degrees below zero. That